Well, good morning. Yes, it's me, Kenny Polcari, your host of the party. And today is Monday, November 25th, 2024. And here are the things that you need to know to get your day started about what's happening in the markets. Well, strong retail earnings and strong eco data continue to drive stocks higher. Bitcoin comes very close to piercing 100,000. Close, but no cigar, at least not yet. The dollar rallies, commodities rally, and bonds remain confused. Trump picks Scott Bessent as Treasury Secretary. And what are we having dinner tonight? We're going to try the Italian wedding soup. So give me a minute to get to that. Now, stocks march higher on Friday, driven by strong retail earnings. Think Gap Stores was up 12.8%, Ross Stores up 2.2%, and ongoing robust economic and business activity. Both the S&P Services PMI and the Flash Composite PMIs came in strong at 57 up from 55 and 55.3 up from 54.3 respectively. Now that suggests that the services part of our economy remains healthy and in expansionary territory. The Kansas City Fed Services activity confirmed what the PMI said, coming in at +9, up 4 points over last month. Now, manufacturing PMI, though, remains in contractionary territory, coming in at 48.8, but this was not a surprise at all. Manufacturing has been weak for months now. The Dow gained 425 points or 1%. The S&P up 20 points or 0.4. The NASDAQ gained 32 points or 0.2%. The Russell outperformed, rising 43 points or 1.8%. And that reflects the fact that investors remain optimistic about the future of the U.S. economy. The danger here, though, is that rising rates could put pressure on margins for U.S.-centric companies, so keep your eyes on that. Transport's added 195 points or 1.1%, while the equal-weighted S&P gained 60 points or 0.8%. Bitcoin surged by more than $11,000 for the week. The trade is as high as 99,850, leaving it just 150 points away from penetrating 100,000. It is now up 47% since the election, and that is causing all kinds of excitement, right? If you go to my blog, the written blog, you can find my link to my appearance with Stuart Varney on Friday morning when we discuss this very fact. Over the weekend, after it failed to penetrate 100,000, traders decided to take some profits, taking it down $4,000 to as low as 95.9. But this morning it's trading back up $3,000, trading at 98,450. The dollar continues to shoot higher, closing Friday at 107.55 after trading as high as 108.07 on Friday morning at about 4 o'clock. The dollar is now up 3.8% since the election, and it is up 7.5% off the September low. This morning, though, it is down 65 cents at 106.90. Now, look, a strong dollar usually means that commodities come under pressure due to their inverse relationship, right? Because commodities are priced in dollars. So when the dollar strengthens, commodities typically become more expensive for foreign buyers, which tends then to reduce demand and put pressure on prices. And for a while, that's true. But more recently, say the past 2 weeks, the dollar has advanced and commodities have advanced along with it. The BCOM, the Bloomberg Commodity Index, is up 4.5% since November 15th. Well, because there are always exceptions to the rule. Commodities can rise in value even as the dollar strengthens. And here are a couple of reasons why that might be that you should consider when you're thinking about that relationship. One of them is supply side constraints, right? Think like weather or geopolitical tension and strikes. Any of that going on? What about structural supply deficits? Think like underinvestments in things like oil exploration or capital expenditures or declining natural resources. I don't think so much this time. There's strong global demand. Think emerging market growth. So places like China, India, and Brazil, right, are all demanding of resources and commodities. An inflation hedge. When inflation expectations rise, commodities often attract investors seeking to hedge against the erosion of that purchasing power. Even with a rising dollar, inflationary pressures can push commodity prices higher. What about as an alternative asset class? Investors pour money into commodities separate from stocks and bonds and real estate because they want diversification. That's always a reason. There's this dual demand, right? So if the dollar is rising because of a strong U.S. economy, then commodities could also benefit from increased domestic demand, and that can push commodity prices higher. And then there's stockpiling. This is where countries stockpile commodities as a precaution against future shortages or even expected price volatility, and this can drive commodity prices higher independent of the dollar. This morning, though, the dollar is lower as investors assess Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who is expected to, quote, take the sting out of the administration's more aggressive trade and economic policy proposals. He is a Wall Street hedge fund manager. Key Square Group, they manage $5 billion. He's considered fiscally conservative, and the sense is that he will prioritize economic and market stability. So sit tight because there's always more to come. Oil, another commodity, advanced by 1.5% or $1.10 a barrel on Friday, closing at $71.18, representing a 5% total move on the week. The surge credited to the rising tensions in the Ukrainian-Russian war when Vlad warned the world that he has now lowered the bar for a nuclear response after Zelensky fired U.S.-made and British-made missiles into Russian territory. In addition, Zelensky has used drones to target Russian oil infrastructure, and that only adds to the possible supply disruption in energy and in oil. Away from this, we have the Chinese that appear to be demanding more oil. Here we go with emerging markets, right? Something that the oil analysts told us was not happening. Well, I guess it depends on what day of the week we're talking about, right? But you know me. I don't think demand is the issue, right, for kind of floundering and weak prices in oil. I think demand is strong. I think it's a supply issue, right? And the more supply will bring prices down. And guess what? That will be good for the U.S. and for our inflationary pressures here and really around the world. But it's also going to cause the Saudis to get their panties in a bunch because they want to see oil prices higher. Now, this morning, oil is trading down 40 cents at 70.84 after testing and piercing trendline resistance at 71.33. Gold, now on to gold, another commodity. That has recovered nicely since getting punched in the face last week, falling 8% in the first 2 weeks of the month, trading right down to the intermediate term trendline support at 26.09. Gold found support at that level, and then the gold bugs took it right back to 27.37, or a 6.5% move up. This after Goldman Sachs came out with a buy recommendation. This morning, we're seeing gold under pressure again as gold traders also consider what a Scott Bessent Treasury is going to look like. The sense is that if he becomes Treasury Secretary, then that should ease concerns over Trump's inflationary agenda. And that would reduce the need for gold as an inflation hedge, right? This morning, gold is down $38 at $26.99, putting it right back in between the trendline support at $26.11 and trendline resistance at $27.05. The bond market is all over the place. While the 2 weeks started the week yielding 4.3%, it ended the week yielding 4.37%, up 7 bips. The 10-year started the week yielding 4.43 and ended the week yielding 4.40, down 4 bips. Shorter duration 3 and 6 month bills are yielding 4.55% and 4.49% respectively. 30-year mortgage rates are now pushing 7.1%, while 12-month CDs are paying you just about 5%. This morning, bonds are surging and yields are falling. Again, think that Scott Bessent nomination. He's expected to back the pro-business policies that a Trump administration promises, and that should take the pressure off of higher rates and yields. This morning, the 2 years now yielding 4.34%, down 3 bips, while the 10 years yielding 4.34%, down 6 bips. And U.S. futures are surging. The Dow up 300, the S&P's up 30, the NASDAQ ahead by 130, and the Russell up 27. It is a holiday shortened week, but it is one full of economic data. Today brings us both the Dallas and Chicago Fed Manufacturing Activity Indexes. Tomorrow we get the Philly Fed Services Activity Index, the Richmond Fed and the Dallas Fed Services Activity, along with new home sales expected to be down 1.8%. And then we're going to get the November FOMC minutes, where I don't expect we're going to learn anything new. On Wednesday, we get mortgage apps, and the first revision to third quarter GDP expected to be unchanged at 2.8%. We're also going to get the Fed's favorite inflation gauge, the PCE price index, which is expected to be up 0.2 month over month and up 2.3% year over year, which is higher than last month's 2.1%. Pending home sales expected to be down 2% month over month. Thursday's Thanksgiving, Friday's a half a day, but expect all kinds of Black Friday sales going into Cyber Monday. Remember, there are 5 less shopping days this year between Thanksgiving and Christmas, so the push is on. And analysts are expecting another record shopping season. Makes no sense to me, but whatever. European markets are slightly higher, up between 1/10 and 6/10. Italian bank Unicredit has made an overture to buy Banco BPM for $10.5 billion, and that's putting some pressure on the Italian market. The FTSE MIB index is down 0.5%. The S&P closed at 59.69, and with futures up today, we can expect it to open right at 6,000, putting it once again at the highest level of the year. Now, while I thought the market felt a bit tired, the relative strength index is not overbought nor oversold, so it's right in the middle of the graph, so it could go either way, and right now, it appears to be up. Remember, long-term investing is a marathon, not a sprint. You can click on my link in my written blog, or go to slatestone.com and click on the link, send me a message, put KP in the box, and I'll be happy to call you back. Okay, what do we have for dinner today? We're having the Italian wedding soup. You got to start this with your basic chicken soup. So for this, you need a whole chicken, 1 beef shank, onion, celery, carrots, water, and salt and pepper. Rinse the chicken, remove the innards from the cavity, rinse the beef shank, place it all in a pot, fill it with water. Now add the chopped veggies, season with salt and pepper, bring it to a boil. Once it boils, turn the heat down to medium-low and just let it simmer for 1.5 hours. After that, turn the heat off, remove all the meat, allow it to cool. When the meat is cool, take the skin off the chicken, debone the chicken, shred some of the chicken and add it back to the soup while taking the rest of it. You can make a nice chicken salad out of it, right? Then take the beef shank, the beef off the shank, and you can shred that a little bit. You can put that back in the soup. Then take the whole thing, put it in the fridge overnight, let it cool down. The fat from the chicken will rise to the top and form a skin. Tomorrow morning, you take it out of the fridge, you take the skin off, you throw it away, and then you reheat the chicken soup. Now, for the meatballs, you need 1 pound of ground veal. You can also use beef, but this is a veal dish. You need minced garlic, 2 cloves. You need chopped fresh parsley, leaves, freshly grated Parmigiana cheese. You need whole milk, 1 extra large egg, and which is your lightly beaten, and then salt and pepper. Place the veal in a bowl with the garlic, the parsley, the Parmesan, the milk, the egg, and the salt and pepper. Combine it, mix it. Now, using a teaspoon, make small balls of the veal and set them aside. Then when they're all done, you're going to fry them in a pan and then wait until you're ready to serve the soup. When you're ready to serve the soup, add the meatballs and then add a bag of spinach. Let it wilt, and then you serve it immediately, right? So when you're serving this, serve it in the bowls. Make sure you got plenty of the spinach and the meatballs, along with a little bit of the chicken, and make sure there's plenty of fresh grated Parmesan cheese on the table for your guests. Right now, a nice piece of toasted garlic bread on the bottom of the bowl is always a favorite. So if you put the toasted garlic bread on the bottom and then put the soup on top of it, it is delicious. In any event, you can use this as a starting dish for your Thanksgiving dinner, or you can use it maybe for dinner on Friday night after your Thanksgiving out and your turkeyed out and all that stuff. You want something just easy. Soup is always good for you. In any event, it is Monday. It is a gorgeous day here. It was a gorgeous weekend here in South Florida, and the weather is expected to be good this whole week. So until tomorrow, take good care.